All right, and welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trade. Today is Monday, August 1st, 2022. If you're not done so already, give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, or come find me at carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, so markets here in a little bit of a pullback here today. The big story this morning was Pelosi's trip to Taiwan. You can see here the futures did sell off a little bit. I think that, my opinion personally, it was a little bit of a hysteria here. So we had some selling here in the pre-market, somewhere around 7:30. We kind of dipped here, and there was, my Twitter feed was exploding with, oh, this is, market's puking, ES is dumping out, blah 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 blah. And the point is, the financial media needs a story to sell, and that's really the bottom line. You can see if this was really a big issue here, and I get that there is some magnitude to it, obviously, but don't you think the market would be down a lot more than 20 basis points here? Same thing with the triple Qs, which are actually flat right now. So again, it's is it something to pay attention to? Yeah, but I think the smart money would be panicking and rushing for the exits right now if there was a real problem with that. Bottom line is, they need a story to sell here. And, if you watched the videos last week, basically, I was saying once you get a 3-bar up move into resistance, it's very likely you get a pullback anyway. So from the technical pattern, you knew a pullback was probably coming today, and that's what we got here on our hands. You can take a look at the triple Qs even, got right up into that trend line that we've been talking about, and guess what? It pulled right back off of that. So, the charts often will precede the news, and that's usually how I do it. If you're waiting for the news to make your trades, you are going to end up broke sooner rather than later. So, and you can see here triple Qs are actually starting to turn positive now. So again, big story, turning into a non-event for the market so far. Could that change? It's definitely possible. Can't rule that out here, especially in this environment. We've had a wild year so far, but market is holding up for now. We are into some resistance here again, like we said in the triple Qs, and maybe it has to consolidate a little bit further. I still think there's a little bit more upside, possibly into that trend line there. The same thing with the spiders here. There's some more upside in this chart here. It is very short-term extended though, so you got to be a little bit guarded here in this market. And again, I do have a turn date coming up pretty soon here, but we're not quite there yet. And we just got to be patient with this market. We got pretty, the news this morning was has heavy implications, global implications, obviously. And you see what's going on here. We got 55 million shares traded on the SPY at 3:50 p.m. 41 million shares on the triple Qs at 3:50 p.m. So when you're in that light volume summer period, the market can just shrug off bad news. So that's the way you got to take a look at it. And that's why we haven't been trying to jump in front of it. I know a lot of people I'm hearing a lot of, others out there. I'm getting messages, oh, can we short? Can we short? Can we do this? Can we do that? Oh, we need to short. We need, you got to wait. You got to be patient in these light volume environments. So let the market tell you when it's time. And it will be time eventually, but we're not quite there yet. Anyways, here, overall, mostly just a pause day here for the broad indices. You see the diamond here down just 5 basis points today. Russell 2000 now scratching positive. So went up into that gap fill there and is now above that 100 moving average, is kind of sustaining above that. So, maybe that has a little bit more upside kind of to this breakdown area. It might just go to, somewhere right in that range there. That little zone is going to be pretty good resistance for the Russell, but it's had a nice move off the lows, and definitely needs to be respected for now. Again, still getting pretty extended, just like all the other indices, but Russell is positive today, which is usually a good sign for risk. The Russell and the Nasdaq are leading the S&P and the Dow right now, so that is not a bearish sign here in the short term. So definitely keep that in mind. Anyways, semiconductors here, also up today. That was showing a lot of strength earlier this morning. Look at that surge off the lows and actually cracked positive for quite a while there before the fade, and now it's back basically just above the flat line. But that is trying to confirm above the 100 moving average. Would like to see a close above 237.85 to really confirm it. Doesn't look like it's going to do that today unless we get a buy program in the last 9 minutes. But either way, nice little pop there. This still has some resistance up in this I think I said 243 to 245 area. So we'll see if it can get up there later this week. But again, still kind of overextended here short term, but a nice little move there off the lows. IGV Cloud Software, a little bit on the weaker side, so, compared to the semis, but it's flat, just like a lot of things here. You finally made that daily chart higher high, and you kind of pulled back off that 100 MA. I still think this gets up here and tries to print above 300 one more time. But, overall it's, continuing higher just like everything else is, but pulling back, and really just a pause day here across the board. XBI flirting with a little bit of a breakdown there. So we'll see what that does. Maybe a little bit of a fake out there if we do get a push up. But you can see you had like a little kind of inside bar here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So starting to test down that 100 moving average. If you break that 100 moving average and this pivot, it's possible you go right down to that 50 MA. So we'll see if they save it tomorrow, but I wouldn't make too much out of it just yet. The daily chart pattern is still good, but again, like I've been saying to you guys for a while, there's a lot of resistance here on the weekly. It's this is like 2-3 months here of consolidation, and it's not likely you're going to take that out with 6 weeks of bullish consolidation. So the likelihood of a rollover is a little bit higher than another leg up. But in any case, it's hanging in there. We'll leave it at that. Dow Transport's another higher high today. So again, beautiful trend line break, inside bar, pullback, and an ABC up move. Again, you're coming into some resistance here. So let's take a look at, basically, you could call it right. We'll just say right here. This is your pivot, your previous pivot high, and then you've got these red bars above that. So coming into that area, it's going to be pretty good resistance. But if you can get through that, I would give it the upside, for a last gasp to the 15.1, which is where that 200-day moving average is. But that would kind of be like your max move here in the near term. 10-year Treasury continuing lower here. So TNX. We talked about that head and shoulders pattern. That is confirmed. That's triggered. That is heading lower. You'll have a speed bump around, 2.5, 2.4, and then the next leg lower should take you close to 2%. So that is the target on the TNX, but that did fall 1.36% today. So continuing lower, and then take a look at the 30-year here, taking a big hit. So a pretty good sizable red bar there, and you can almost make a case like, you had a down move here, and then kind of little micro. Let me just draw it in. Kind of like a micro little bear flag there. There you go. So possibly starting to break down there as we get below that 100 moving average. But again, you'll have like a little speed bump probably around 2.8 or so. But then, ultimately it's back to 2.5, 2.6 there on the 30-year. But again, nice little head and shoulder pattern, little kind of, micro bearish pattern, and a little breakdown today. So we'll see if we get some more follow through there. TLT was up nicely today as well, breaking through that 100 MA. So nice little move there for bonds. And again, this is overdue. Been kind of calling for this for a while, and nice to see that getting going. HYG here also pulling back. Again, got a little overbought here in the short term and pulling back along with the rest of the equity market. So nothing really too surprising going on there. Home builders, we got some really negative housing data today. I believe it was housing growth slowed for, it was like a record pace of slowed growth or something like that on housing data. But hey, XHB holding up nonetheless, still making higher highs. Again, I said this last week, I like this level as a short, but the only thing I don't like is the timing and the volume. And that's why we didn't take it, and we got another higher high out of it. So your next area is going to be right up in this kind of range here, right around there. So there's your pivots, where you can draw that in correctly. Right in that area there, so pivot high, and then there's your breakdown. So right in this area, just below 66, that's going to be your area there on XHB. And then ITB also slightly making a higher high. Maybe this can possibly get up. So there's that green bar will kind of coincide right there with the XHB pivot. So right in this area here on ITB. So you're close to resistance here on these home builders, if you ask me. VNQ also getting up to that 100 moving average and pulling back. So this is close to kind of max move. It's close to resistance as well. But again, a nice move off the lows for these real estate and home builder equities. XLF pulling back a little more sharply. Again, bond yields came back in. So, does kind of put pressure on equities. You do have a little bit of a gap there. It looks like it got filled anyway, but this was going to be pretty good gap here. I mean, you had good volume behind it too, and you know, we consolidated a little bit, but you know, it was a little bit away from. If we consolidated right up in this area, you know, I would say it could probably get through that area with a pop, but you know, still a bit of a stretch, and XLF has been a weaker sector here, but overall just pulling back with everything else. And same thing with XBD, kind of an inside hammer day, so nothing terrible. You know, like there is, you know, possible potential for a little bit more of a move up in these fins if we can pull back a little bit, but again, they are getting a little stretched here. Crude back below $100 a barrel. So starting to break through that 100 moving average. Again, we talked about this kind of bearish inside bar here on the daily, and it's consolidating. So this may be starting to break down as well. And this kind of coincides with the move in bonds, right? It even, you know, right around here, so middle of June. And if we look at TLT, you know, this is kind of when TLT bottomed, June 16th. And then crude, you know, that topped out on the 14th. So right in that area. So we're kind of getting that kind of inverse correlation there with bonds and yields. Or at bonds and crude, I should say. And so you're kind of seeing the same pattern. So if this starts to break down, you'd expect bonds to continue to rally. And again, you know, right around that 85 area, maybe $80, that's going to be good support there for crude. Again, got to be patient with this. XLE also pulling back in a little bit. Same thing with XOP and the OIH, but you know, kind of coming off the lows a little bit here. Nothing really to do with these at the moment, if you ask me. And then nat gas with a pretty sizable fall, but it did come nicely off the lows. I would have liked this to get down into this trend line where you got this 50-20 moving average kind of converging, and then if you look on the weekly, that 20-week moving average is right in that range around 725, 730. Would have loved for a little area right there, but didn't quite get there. Nat gas is holding up well. It's definitely bucking the trend energy-wise, and definitely got to respect that for the time being here. Dollar index continuing lower. So, you know, that is partially kind of giving the markets a little bit of a float right now. The dollar was overbought. It is pulling back. Again, it probably bounces on that 50 moving average, which coincides with that kind of 105 area. So, you know, basically 104.97 right there. So you got a nice little support area right here. You also have this green bar, this breakout bar right there. So dollar should get a bounce there. The question is, does it make a higher high? Or does it start to make a lower high? If it makes a lower high, then I'd say it's vulnerable to being in correction mode here. But overall, dollar continuing to pull back. Nothing really too notable going on today. Gold did pop a little bit again. So up $6 here. It is going to find some resistance at that 50 moving average, which, you know, not surprisingly kind of coincides with that 50 on the dollar index. So that inverse trade working out as it normally does here, so no surprises. Silver also basically right up to that 50 moving average as well, putting in kind of a pause, little hammer candle on the daily. Market's about to close here in about 15 seconds, by the way, so we'll check in on the spiders in a minute. Platinum continuing higher here, up 1.5%. We did sell our PPLT today for a decent little gain, you know, bit of a modest gain. I think this does have a little bit more upside in it if it pulls back and puts in a higher low, as there is the closing bell. But, you know, I just wanted to kind of raise some capital here at this time. I still like platinum. I still love the level here, but wanted to just take my gains off the table and walk here. Nice little pop there, again, coming right into that 50 moving average. And then you can see here on the daily, you've got this pivot right here, this trend line, and this trend line as well. So kind of coming into some resistance. That's partly why I dumped my shares there, but a nice little move there for PL off the lows. And then PA, you know, on the daily, getting back above all four major moving averages and basically stalling out at this trend line. So a nice little pop there for palladium and copper with a little bit of an inside candle today. So nothing really too new to report there. As far as the coins are concerned, Ether still putting in kind of a bullish like pullback pattern here. So again, we had the nice move up, bullish inside bar, and then a little pop here. So now another kind of potential bullish kind of, you know, a little fade here, a little pullback. You know, if it slopes underneath that 20 moving average, you could get that move up to 2,000, like I was saying. So right now, that's kind of what I would favor here. That's kind of my favored scenario, and you can see Bitcoin here as well. You know, same exact pattern essentially, although the one on Ether is much better. But you know, that would give you upside on Bitcoin about 26,500, somewhere in that range. So again, there still is a little bit more room for upside in these markets and in the crypto space as well. So we take a look at the spiders here. Let's see where we finished. Yeah, so basically just sideways from where I started this video. But again, coming right into that 100 moving average, I still think there's another, chance for an upside move to 420, and then, with the triple Qs, this downsloping trend line has got to be pretty good resistance, especially if we go into it from an extended place, which we already are in. So just bear that in mind there. All right, anyways, going to wrap it up here today. Again, generally pretty much a quiet day on Wall Street, so nothing too new to report on. We'll see if anything comes of the Pelosi trip. Obviously, the media is going to be all over that, and it's going to be all over Twitter pretty much 24/7. But in any case, all we care about is the market's reaction to it, so we don't care about the news itself. Anyways, come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you guys later, and I will see you all tomorrow.